23, 24, we had a multi-million pound property portfolio. And I've got to say, wasn't from doing anything smarter than anybody else. It was just literally bought our first investment property. I've got 6 businesses in property and finance. And that is so that we can look after every single need of a client, so that all they have to worry about is, picking the interiors.
What is it about business that you enjoy?
It's the people.
It's the people.
It is the people, the interesting people, and the way that you can change lives. So I have got over 20,000 clients just in my mortgage business. So that's 20,000 clients that I've helped on the journey to buying a property. Bought my first house. It was such stressful hassle. Everyone seemed to make it quite difficult. Whereas I was like, I know that I can make this transaction easier.
An obsession for money, an obsession for success.
Yeah.
What would you say has been one of your biggest challenges over your years as a female entrepreneur? What were some of the lessons for you on that first ever deal? Welcome to another edition of the Dealmaker podcast, and I have an incredible guest today, Michelle Niziol, who is a female entrepreneur, property investor, award winner, has featured in major publications across the UK, and is someone that is super successful. And actually, this is a special moment because this is the first female guest on the Dealmaker podcast that is not one of my graduates. So let's get straight into it. Michelle, wonderful to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for getting my name right.
I know, well, we were practicing half hour in the background. So you are here today. We're going to talk about your journey. We're going to inspire and motivate males and females tuning in. Yeah. Could you just take us back to where this all started for you as an entrepreneur, business owner? Where did it start?
So from literally this high, sort of 5 or 6, I remember, I was always going to run my own business, but I just did not know what that business was going to be. I just had massive aspirations for myself, wanted to get married, wanted to have 2 children, wanted a boy and wanted a girl, and wanted to own £1 million house, but I couldn't tell you where that came from. My parents are civil servants, so I don't have any entrepreneurial blood in the family. They were always really supportive, and then what happened, I was sort of 17 years old, parents had gone through quite a messy divorce. The car got repossessed. Literally the house was on the brink of repossession, and I just remember thinking, this is just never gonna happen to me, not gonna happen to my family. I went out, got 3 jobs. I had to quit A-levels because I had to put a roof over myself and my little sister's head. My sort of boyfriend at the time, which is now my husband, so we went on, absolutely, worked myself, to the bone, so to speak. Went and bought my first house when I was 18 with my husband, and then from there just got the real bug about, actually investing in property and what it can do for you. Then became a mortgage broker, and then that's when myself and my husband built our property portfolio. So by the time I was 23, 24, we had a multi-million pound property portfolio. And I've got to say, that wasn't from, doing anything smarter than anybody else. It was just literally bought our first investment property. A couple of years later, obviously the market had picked up a bit, refinanced, went and bought a couple more properties.
It sounds like from, you say this age, 5 or 6, there was just something inside of you that was just so determined to succeed.
Yeah.
Almost like an obsession.
Yes.
An obsession for money, an obsession for success.
Yeah.
And then seeing your mum and dad go through that divorce, did that really embed some beliefs in you around that time?
Yeah, it was just, watching that whole, because my mum and dad couldn't survive without each other, because they both earned decent money being, they were quite high up in the civil service, but they'd created this family life where, they had to have each other in order to continue that life. So if one of those salaries dropped out, the whole thing fell apart. Wow. And I was always like, that's never going to happen to me. I'm going to be self-sufficient. With my husband is super successful anyway, but I'm with him because I love him. I'm not with him because, I need his money or... and I think that was really important to me.
And if we go back to your early 20s when you got your first ever property, what were some of the lessons that you learnt from that first deal? Because there's a lot of people tuning in that want to get on the property ladder. They're not quite sure if it's right for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes I say, look, just get the first one. The magic will start to happen.
Absolutely.
What were some of the lessons for you on that first ever deal?
So this is quite embarrassing considering this is what I do now. But so the first house that we ever bought, it was basically a 2-bed house that had a 2-bed extension. So not very pretty looking from the outside at all, but really quite big on the inside. And the day we got the keys, we parked our car on what we thought was our drive. And because the estate agent had said, this is all your land. And then the neighbours came and knocked on the door and said, you do realise that is a shared drive. And I was like, no. So lesson number 1, make sure you read all the legal stuff.
Yes.
And make sure you read all the deed information and get your solicitor to go through it with a fine tooth comb. But yeah, that was quite a big learning curve. That was my first house, and that was quite a big learning curve.
Great, but you followed the process, like you say, buy, refurbish, refinance.
Yeah.
Can you remember? Did you pull all the money out of that deal on the refinance? Did you leave some money in the deal?
Pulled out as much money as we could. Great. So pulled out as much money as we could, and then invested in another property, and then 2 years later pulled out as much money. It was slightly easier back then than it is now, but pulled out all the money.
And then you've gone on to build, your property business. You now own a letting agency.
Yeah.
You serve high net worth investors, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. What is it about business that you enjoy?
Yeah. It's the people.
It's the people.
It
right?
is the people, the interesting people, and the way that you can change lives. So I have got over 20,000 clients in my mortgage business.
Wow.
So that's 20,000 clients that I've helped on the journey to buying a property. And I think when I bought my first house, it was such a stressful hassle. Everyone seemed to make it quite difficult, whereas I was like, I know that I can make this transaction easier. So my little strap line when I'm dealing with a client is, all you need to worry about is buying your sofa.
Okay.
That's the fun bit, because I love a bit of interior design.
Yeah.
So you leave everything else. Right. So I've got 6 businesses in property and finance, and that is so that we can look after every single need of a client.
Great.
So that all they have to worry about is, picking the interiors.
So they literally come to you, have a consultation, and then you can literally do the entire service.
Yeah.
Introduce them to legal team, I take
Absolutely.
it. Do the mortgage. Do any refinancing.
Absolutely.
You
refurb,
name it, everything. All right, so you've got the whole refurb team.
I've got the whole thing.
Fantastic.
So that, because what do they say? Getting married, having a baby, buying a house, 3 most stressful things that you can do. I can't help the baby thing. I can't help the marriage thing, but what I can do is make sure that end-to-end service is there, so that it's completely hassle and stress-free when you're buying a home. And then once you bought your first home, I'm a big advocate for, let's build your property portfolio. Where are you going with this, with retirement?
Great.
Sure. I mean, only because I've done it myself. I would never do something that I've never done myself.
Yeah.
And without trying to be too, look at me and vulgar about money, I've made so much money in property and investing in property and churning it.
You know how valuable an asset it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're saying you have people that come to you as they just want to get their first ever family home, and now they've turned into property professionals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's
and
incredible.
I've retired so many clients. Wow. So I remember one client coming in to see me, and they were sort of early 50s, and they basically came in there, one buy-to-let and another property that was unencumbered. So didn't have a mortgage, and they just thought they were coming in for a buy-to-let remortgage. They walked out of there retired. They literally quit their jobs because I'd built them a property portfolio of 9 houses within the next few weeks.
Wow.
So I was just able to refinance the buy-to-let and refinance. They're quite a large property that had been left. And they literally resigned. They resigned on the Monday. They still are retired to this day, even with all the financial market.
One conversation, one asset, one deal.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know. So
absolutely.
What do you So that's something that you enjoy about business.
Yeah.
What would you say has been one of your biggest challenges over your years as a female entrepreneur trying to make it in this big world?
Yeah.
What's been one of your biggest challenges and how have you overcome that?
Genuinely, I think building a team has been, really difficult for me in the sense that, I've always thought, I'm so super driven, you think you're normal. And that's not disrespecting.
We're a bit weird.
Yeah, it's not disrespecting anybody else who doesn't run a business, but you can only think how you think. And actually, I've worked with a lot of professionals now to make me realise that actually my standards on myself are so exceptionally high that actually it's impossible for your team to live up to those expectations. So actually it's not about them not succeeding, it's about actually lowering your expectations and also like good is good enough. So it's taken me a long time.
And almost like I get
point.
really frustrated with some of my staff, and it's like you have to allow them to make some of those mistakes.
Totally.
They're not going to treat the business like I treat my business.
Yeah.
And if everyone was like us, then we'd have no staff.
Absolutely.
Because they'd all be doing it themselves.
Absolutely.
Right?
But it takes a while to get there.
So what's some of the stuff that you do to treat your staff well? The culture. What would you say is the culture within your company?
So my culture is I am such a big pusher on them personally developing.
Great. I love that.
To the point where previous staff have gone off and set up their own businesses and or gone off to do mega successful jobs elsewhere. But I bring in, and especially now I spend an awful lot of money bringing in external professional people because I don't know it all. I don't know it all. And they work with the team to, personally, professionally develop them. Plus we do an awful lot of charity stuff, which the team love. Yeah. So, we get massively involved in local community stuff. And I just absolutely love, I'm a bit of a socialite, so we socialise a lot together.
Great.
That normally comes from them actually, so they'll go, oh Michelle, we haven't been out for like 3 months, can we go on a girls' night out? So yeah, I think it's just treating them with respect. And in my business, because you're working for an entrepreneur, you have your own business unit, so it does not matter whether you're admin or whether you're a letting agent or you're on the compliance department, that business unit is yours and I give you full autonomy. So I'm such a hands-off, I'm not a micromanager.
So they need to be able to run a business within a business, don't they?
Yeah.
And treat it like it's their own and have their own set of KPIs and targets and drive themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good thing to do because a lot of business owners are, and we can all become control freaks, but when you start to micromanage, that's when things can you just end up becoming a manager and not a and not a business owner.
Absolutely.
And it seems to me, Michelle, that you're really big on relationships.
Yeah.
And driving the business forward, like the vision of your company,
absolutely,
and you want those people to come along with you.
Absolutely, because if you're not working on their professional development, their confidence, then they're not going to be. I'm very rarely in the businesses anymore. I like coming out and doing this. This for me is my new job. It's fun. It's. So you can't be pushing those people down and then expect your businesses to run when you're not there. So a huge advocate for pushing them forward.
So if we look at some of the sacrifices that you've made over the years, because this is important, right? We get a lot of people that want to become business owners, property investors, but they're just not willing to make the sacrifices.
Yeah.
Why do you feel people don't succeed? So that's one question. And then the second question is, what are some of the personal sacrifices that you've had to make to get you to where you are today?
I think people don't necessarily succeed if they don't want it enough.
Yeah.
If you're not passionate about what you do, so you might come up with an idea and go, oh, right, I'm going to go and set up this business, a fashion line or something. But unless you are literally 1,000,000% in it, it's just not going to succeed. And when I was mentoring some people in business, I would find that, is that I would think, you've got an idea, but actually, do you really want it in here?
In your core.
Because unless you really want something, because you're going to have to sacrifice a lot, myself and my husband, we didn't go on, now we get to go on fabulous holidays. But whereas our friends, we had a mortgage when we were 18, our friends were travelling the world. You know, our friends were going on backpacking around the world, and I was like, no, I want to invest in my business, you know. So we would go on one of those holidays, you know, them 200 quid, you don't know where you're going. You know, I was
the
laughing.
Tickets out of the sun type thing.
Totally, yeah. And it was like one holiday a year. And I think that people go, oh, you know, they look at you now and go, oh, it's all right for you. And it's like, no. For 20 years, we pretty much did that, you know. And now we're reaping the rewards and the benefits.
And you said earlier before the podcast that you delayed having children as well because you didn't want them to go through what you went through with your mum and dad. And you wanted them to be secure. And you made a decision years ago that you wanted your children to have the best of everything. And the private schooling.
Yes.
And I think that is something which people just don't do. You know, people are having kids left, right and centre, and people that are really poor are having children, and it's like, is that really fair on those children? But you decided not to do that. Yeah,
I think it's down to, you know, your individual, you know, I've always been dead set on, I always wanted to go to a private school, and I don't know why. I don't know where I heard it on telly or whatever. But I just knew that, you know, I was quite bright, but I think I always had it in my head at a private school that you're potentially pushed maybe a little bit further. And I do think, perhaps I could have been more successful. Also, it's the confidence. So I think confidence-wise, I think that is what is instilled in you from quite an early age in a private school. Yeah. And it's something you can't teach, and it's something that, you know, will carry you a long way. So for me, I didn't have my first child till I was 32, you know, which was what I wanted, because I wanted the big house. I wanted to be able to afford for the children to be in private school before I had them, you know, and then... Great. So I had the first one at 32 and then the second one at 37, and the husband wants more, but that ain't happening.
You got your two.
I've got my two.
Your business.
Got my boy, got my girl.
Do you get to go on nice holidays now?
I do get to go on nice holidays.
Okay, great. And drink champagne
Absolutely.
And have lovely things. That's really, really good. What would you say is one of your biggest drivers today?
So... do you know what? It is just still success and what that success means to me. So I think, you know, I'm hitting 43 this year. Wow. So I want this.
You've got great energy, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You can say really good energy. You can say there's a lot of focus and clarity. Like, you are definitely a woman that just knows what she wants.
Totally.
Like that's the feeling I get anyway.
Yeah, totally. I think the mission for me now is I've got a good 7 years now where I want this to be my legacy, you know. So I, as far as I'm concerned, I've spent 20 plus years running my businesses, honing my craft. You don't know everything, but as pretty much as I feel like an expert in my field.
Great.
You know, I'm probably one of the only females in the country to be, you know, qualified in everything that I do. And now it feels like my time, you know, to go, right, the next 7 years, I want to be known as the leading female expert. Fantastic. In the UK, and I want to make my kids proud. You know, I get to wake up every morning, and other people are not that lucky. So it's like about making the most out of every single day and doing stuff that you enjoy. So great. You know, I do enjoy this. You know, the filming, the meeting new people,
content creation.
Yeah, but the meeting the really interesting people, and for me, that is meeting other entrepreneurs. And you're not going to meet them sitting in your office.
No, great. You like to get out there, build the relationships. I say 70% of your time should be built on relationships.
Absolutely.
You know, existing relationships, new relationships. So look, what would you say to anyone now tuning in? They want to become an entrepreneur. Let's try and talk to the females of the audience. They want to become an entrepreneur, or maybe they're just starting out, but maybe they've got some struggles. Maybe they don't believe in themselves. Maybe they've got some negativity in their family. Maybe they're struggling with time, finances. What would you say to those women wanting to break through that don't quite believe in themselves, or they're not quite getting the result they want to get?
Yeah, and I know this because not one person wanted me to set up my own business.
Right.
You know, so it was just, I knew in here that that's what I was going to do, you know, and I think sadly for women, we do suffer a lot with imposter syndrome. We do have those, can we actually do this and be a mum? You know, still be a good wife, still be a good friend. And basically, you've got to really get the right support network around you. So join a entrepreneur circle, or, you know, if it's particularly females that you want to have that network with, you know, join a network where these women are going to really hold you up and support you, because, you know, through the years, I've shed friends, I've shed, people that didn't want me to be successful, or they feel like they're being left behind because you're successful. And I think it's about moving forward. So my biggest thing would be get yourself in a network where you feel that you're supported. And also you want to be that person in the room where, I'm always trying to get in a room now where I feel they're above me.
Yeah,
because, it's that growth that you're
So
after.
get around supportive people.
Totally.
Believe in yourself.
Yeah. Which is hard. And that's not always easy.
It's not easy. You just mustn't give up because one decision, one mentor, one deal, one client, for me certainly can change absolutely everything.
Yeah.
So I think they're really, really, really great words of wisdom. What would you say when you look at yourself, super successful, you hang out with other super successful people, what would you say are some of the key ingredients that has made you the person you are today?
I think it is just the drive for self-improvement, if I'm being totally honest. So I have worked with therapists, I have worked with psychologists. They've all said, I don't think I've ever worked with anyone who is so self-aware and honest, because I'll go into a session and be like, I've done this week, I don't think that's great. All you can do is don't beat yourself up.
No, I love that.
You can just sort of go, right, take on board, I know what I've done is wrong. This is how I'm going to rectify it. I'm not proud of certain situations that have happened over the years. However, all I can do is learn and grow from it and try and always be a better person every single day.
Yeah. I think it's important to be in tune with your say your negative parts or the bits that don't quite work. Yeah. Because we all have them, and so many people try and be something that they're not. And I love that honesty about you. Just say, you know what, I fuck up from time to time.
Absolutely.
I'm really not the best version of myself always. But this is how I want to improve myself. And I love the fact you said I've gone and got therapy and talked to people.
I went and saw psychologists, and it's about basically all I want to be is the best version of myself all the time. And if you want to go to the top and you want to be number one and you want to be a thought leader, you have to start with yourself. It comes from in here. What are my weak spots? What am I not good at? Oh, I was a bit snappy this morning. Why was I snappy? Why did I speak to that employee like that? Why did why was I a bit snappy with that journalist or whatever, whatever it may be. And you go, it's about reflection and going, I'm not ever going to be perfect, but I'm striving to be as perfect as I can be,
And that must be something great that your clients really love about you and that your colleagues really love about you, because you just seem honest, open, raw. What you see is what you get. Take me as you will. But you seem the sort of person that's really striving for excellence, and you're not willing to accept anything but getting to that next level, whatever that next level looks. And you mentioned earlier about helping clients build £1 million property portfolios. Do you want to just share some of that service with the audience? We've got a lot of people that want to get into property. We've got a lot of high net worths that will listen to this. What is that service that you offer then, Michelle?
So basically it's a bespoke end-to-end service. So I need a minimum investment, because I'll only do it in Bicester in Oxfordshire where I live.
It's expensive.
It's expensive.
But
sadly,
it's nice.
Sadly, it's lovely. So I need $100,000 to start with. So that's your deposit, covers all your fees. Obviously we're financing the rest of it. So I will structure a business plan. So we'll go, okay, so where is it that you want to be in 10 years time, 15 years time when you retire? So let's just say a client will come to me with £1 million. So minimum investment is 100,000, but typically a client will come to me with about £1 million. And then I'll go off and buy 10 houses with that. Right, okay. So they haven't got a clue, to be invest in property, you need quite a lot of knowledge. So I structure a business plan. I'll then go off and source the properties, because obviously I know which properties will rent better than most other properties. It might be a bit run down, so then we'll need to go in and refurbish it. And then I can look at, because obviously over history, 20 years of doing this, I can look at the ones that give us the most capital growth. Yeah, great. At the moment, clients are not getting a massive return on a monthly basis, as we were, as you know, 5-6 years ago. It was all raking it in. But it's about long-term growth. So then we'll source the property, refurbish it, see it all the way through to completion. Lots of my clients don't see the property. I'll literally just take a video and they'll buy it like that. And then once we line tenants up for exchange of contracts, and then we'll let it out through my letting agency when it's finished. So the client, it really works for someone who doesn't want to be the next Sarah Beanie. If you've got any interest in doing that,
it's literally turnkey from start to finish. And then you take a sourcing fee.
Yes.
You do a project management fee, like a refurb to manage the refurb.
Obviously, mortgage broker fee.
Great.
Then we'll handle the legal side of it through someone in our network, and then obviously we have a full management fee with the. So from obviously I know lots of of your followers. That's what they want to get into. I mean, you're talking. It's an exclusive. It's a very decent package because
really
you could be earning hundreds of thousands out of a client by doing this.
Sounds really
and then
good.
I've built hundreds of property portfolios for clients, and so for me that was the quickest way for me to build my letting agency, because getting the odd landlord here and there is very time consuming. Costs you a lot of money in advertising, all the rest of it. If you can offer that service where you go, look, Mr. Landlord, I'm going to do everything for you. I'm going to build you this property portfolio, and then I'm going to look after it. They go, where do I sign?
So how do you typically find those clients now? Is it a lot of word of mouth, would you say?
They come to
not
me.
Not a great deal of advertising?
No. I think if I was probably better at LinkedIn, I could probably really go for it. But it's just one of those services that, those clients will mix in certain circles. It's not one of those I think it's not one of those businesses that personally I think you can massively sell to, because people who mix in those circles don't like to be sold to. It's very much they know of me, then they go and do a little bit of homework, check
Come
you out a company's
you.
house, make sure that you've got a few quid, before they hand over all this money to you. But it's very much sort of like word of mouth. But I think someone starting out, it's the networking. You want to go to these property investment networking clubs, because again, it's just built on relationship.
Great. So what does the future hold for you then? You said talked about the next 7 years. What's going to be like the perfect day for you? Where do you see yourself in the next few years?
The perfect day is this. Great?
Great.
Meeting people like yourselves, lots more TV shows. So I absolutely love the production of a TV show.
Was The Apprentice the first TV show that you did all those years ago?
Yes, I think it was.
You just got the bug for it.
I just loved the contestants were really lovely, and I'm still in touch with them now. But it was actually there's like 200 people that you meet on that show.
Wow,
so from the runners to the executive producers, I just loved everything about it.
Great.
It's the learning, isn't it? I think we have a passion for learning new stuff, and I'd see myself on Dragon's Den. As a dragon. Everyone goes, what would you go in the picture as? And I'm
only as a dragon,
I've got me dead.
You got the hair,
haircut.
You got the style for it.
Absolutely.
I can see you being quite fierce in that hot seat.
Exactly.
So do you see yourself now really wanting to invest into businesses as you evolve?
Definitely. I think for me, we've got quite a large property portfolio, myself and my husband. We've invested in a lot of property, commercial, residential. And I just love people now, and investing in their businesses. So building up my portfolio of businesses, that's the dream.
That's the dream.
So I've got 7 years, Leah.
Okay, let's do it. You're going to do great, Michelle. So we're sort of nearing the end of the podcast, which has been incredible, by the way. It is called the Deal Maker Podcast. What does a deal maker mean to you?
So, deal maker. It could be anything from, taking on that employee to, for me, it's about making money, if I'm being honest, So investing in a property, and then, so for instance, I bought my office, which actually is a pub. And I've literally made, I've got to say, close to £1 million on it.
Wow, awesome.
In a couple of years. So for me, that's a deal maker.
Making the money. Seeing the transition through. When you get a great result like that and you make a big win, how does that make you feel?
Oh, you can tell.
Buzzing.
Buzzing.
Come on.
I'm a salesperson at the end of the day. So it is all about, for me, it is about the deals.
Wonderful.
And, that's the thing that still drives me.
Great. Okay, last few words of wisdom or inspiration, please, Michelle, to the great audience we have.
I think just follow your dream and don't let anybody else pull you down. I've had so many of that over the years. And, you know, especially like the female audience that you've got is put your head above the parapet. That's the only way that you're ever going to get noticed.
Wow.
Surround yourself with an amazing group of people that have really got your back and that will support you. And yeah, you'll do it.
Wow, fantastic. Well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
It'll be great to have you in at some point again in the future.
Yeah,
and we'll get an
love
update
that.
from you. And where can people find you, Michelle? Have you got...
So my Instagram handle for like entrepreneurial is at the empowering entrepreneur.
Great, fantastic, brilliant. Well, look, there we have Michelle. What a fantastic guest we've had on the podcast. Shared loads of golden nuggets with you. Obviously, the key word here is implementation. Believe in yourself. Take massive action. If Michelle can do it, you can do it too. So make sure you go and check Michelle out. Thanks for tuning in to the Dealmaker podcast, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.